Towbars and Ownwers. Because of my obsession with airplanes, my algorithm on YouTube, it sends me videos. And it sent me a video the other day, and this Pilatus is flying around with the tow bar hanging down. And it's not a little tow bar like you see on a Cessna. It's a really big tow bar. I mean, that sucker, it's got to be 15, 20 foot long. But the Pilatus is flying around and the tow bar is hanging down. How can that be? I was in West Memphis, I guess 6 years ago, sitting in the pilot lounge, and a guy came in, he landed on a Pilatus. I said, wow, I like your airplane. You know, how fast will it go? How high would it go? How much weight can it carry? I asked him, I said, how much did it cost? He said, 2.6 million. I said, how long have you had it? He said, 2 or 3 years. How much time you got on it? He said, 1,600 hours. I said, what is it worth today with 1,600 hours? He said, 2.6 million. It's a sought after airplane, and it continually increases in value. So the plane flying around with the tow bar. This guy's flying around. He actually taxied out with the tow bar sticking out. He took off with the tow bar, and he tried to get his gear up, and he realized his gear ain't gonna go up. Why is his gear not going up? Well, he realized his tow bar is stuck on his front wheel. So he's doing flybys down the runway so the tower can look at it. Then he's hitting the tow bar on the runway trying to get it to come off, which is absolute madness. So finally he understands, well, I'm gonna have to land with the tow bar on. Now, if that tow bar hits that prop, you gotta tear the engine down. It doesn't matter. You have to tear the engine down. And that's not $100. On a regular Cessna engine, it could be $30, $40, $50, $100,000. On a PT6, it could be $1 million. So, how do you not take off with your tow bar attached? Here's how not to take. This is what I teach my students. And owners, they listen maybe 50% of what you say. Private students listen to 100% until they get their license, and then they know better. And owners, they always know better. They always know better than their instructor. So this is what I teach. You put that tow bar in the corner of the hangar. It's red for a reason. Anything in aviation is red. It's red for a reason. Put the tow bar in the corner of the hangar. When you pull your plane out, you hook the tow bar up, you pull your plane out, and you do not let go of that tow bar until you put it back in the corner of the hangar. Same thing with your speed brakes on your jet. When you extend those speed brakes, you leave your hand on the speed brakes until you put them back up. Some people will put a checklist on it or a paper on it so they don't forget it, but then they forget it. That's why the Challenger jet crashed in Reno a couple of years ago. I think the guy had 16,000 hours. He put his speed brakes out, and he forgot to bring them back up. He turned base to foul and stalled and killed everybody. When you grab that tow bar that's red and big from the corner of the hangar, you hook it up to your plane, you pull your plane out, you unhook it and put it back in the corner of the hangar. You don't pull it out and say, oh, I got a phone call. Oh, I got to go get my iPad. Oh, I got to do this. No. You never, ever, ever leave that tow bar connected. When you put it back in the hangar, a lot of people, owners, the owner put it back in there and leave the tow bar connected. That's just bad habit. Now, I know you got to pull it back out before you can start it again, but it's habit. It's brain, memory, and habit. Never, ever, ever let your hand go of that tow bar if it's connected to the airplane. Because in a Cessna, if you crank it and your prop hits that tow bar, you got to you got to tear the engine down. And your prop is probably done for. So this guy's flying around in his Pilatus. You can Google it. Pilates with a tow bar attached and see it. He's flying around and he's trying to hit the runway, get the tow bar loose, and I don't remember the video. I think finally he lands and the tow bar hits the prop, and it's just an insurance nightmare. Good luck getting insurance again. What is the problem with this? Poor training and a poor instructor. And an owner. Owners know everything. Once they start flying, they know everything. I could go hours with owners in their airplanes. Hours. I'm not going to do it. I'm in the Philippines. I'm retired. I don't want to blow my brain up going over stories with owners. Oh my God. Anyway, when I go over the tow bar with the owners, and at the end of the day, I signed their logbook. We did stalls, we did S-turns, we did touch and goes. Tow bar instruction. I put it in their logbook. That way, when they taxi out one day and the tow bar's attached and they tear up the prop or they take off with the tow bar, they can't come back to me and say, my instructor never taught me about the tow bar. Well, it's in their logbook 2, 3, 4 times. Tow bar instruction, tow bar instruction. Because the logbook is a legal document. You flight instructors, if you teach someone stalls and you don't write it in their logbook and they crash one day because there's not a stall, their attorney can go back and look in the log. Well, you never taught him about stalls. Well, of course I did. I just didn't put it in a logbook. Well, you need to put it in a logbook. Every single thing you teach, especially with owners, you got to put it in the logbook. Now, I've probably taught 20 owners that had to use a tow bar. 80% of them will do what I say. The other 20%, they're not going to do it. I see them pull the plane out, set the tow bar down, walk around, do other things. Tow bar's laying out there attached. And 99.9, I've never had any of my students have a tow bar issue, take off with the tow bar on. But it happens all over the United States. Owners and flight clubs leave the tow bar attached, crank the engine, taxi out, tow bar flops up, hits the prop, and it ain't pretty. It's very embarrassing. It ain't pretty, and it can be deadly. The guy in a Pilates is lucky he didn't crash the whole airplane. I don't remember what happened on landing. It seemed like maybe the nose wheel collapsed and his prop hit anyway, messed the airplane up pretty bad. But I have to go back and look at the video. But Google the video on YouTube, Pilates flying around with the tow bar attached. It is unbelievable. So, I teach when you grab that tow bar from the corner and you hook it to the airplane and you pull it out, you never set it down on the ground and do other stuff. You pull it out, unhook it, and put it back in the corner. When you put your plane in at night and you push that plane in, you don't leave the tow bar attached. It only takes 5 seconds to put it in the corner, and the next time come back. If you're so rushed, you don't have 5 seconds to get the tow bar from the corner and hook it back. I mean, you're just too rushed. You don't need to be flying. I understand that you gotta hook it up and pull it out. It's just memory and good habits to never leave that tow bar hooked. Never, ever, ever. Flight instructors document it in the logbook. Because when they do it in the insurance, they're going to look at the logbook and they're going to say, well, Mr. John Doe, your flight instructor wrote in here 4 different lessons. He instructed you on the tow bar. Your insurance, their insurance is not going to be happy, and they may pay very little. So, tow bars and owners, tow bars and owners. You have to document it. You have to go over it. A lot of things like that, I make a big deal about it. I mean, I said, look, Mr. John Doe, stand right here. See this red tow bar? This is the way to do it. This is the way to put it back. The reason it's big and red, that's the reason. And I go over different scenarios where people have left it hooked, or there's 2 or 3 owners. and they leave the tow bar attached. So that's the tow bar story. Tow bars, owners, excuse me, insurance companies, and flight instructors. That's the tow bar owner story. Please subscribe and like and share. I'm trying to get to 10,000 people. So help me out. Help me out.